Golden Hour Part 3 in your Fantasy Edition diary. They found Yuno and Mingy in a nearby cafe. Thanks to the music Jongho had prepared beforehand, they were able to wake them up without much trouble. This once again confirmed that it was the members, not Sopro, who were reacting to the memories of World Z. These shared memories are what freed the members from Sopro's control. It would seem that the memories of people close to them awoke emotions buried in their unconscious that fragmented Sopro's control and allowed them to break free. As soon as the members left the recording studio, they understood why Mingy had hidden his social media posts. The people who had been sad, crying, and drained by despair were now standing awkwardly, hugging their arms as if insecure in themselves. They were flushed from head to toe like red humans of World Z, and they scurried out of sight like stray cats. They hid behind cars, trees, and buildings, and only stepped out into the open after carefully peering outside. They walked fast, and when they ran into another person, they would let out a small scream and then hide again. It must have been because of this embarrassment that people began deleting their social media posts. Photos of themselves at the gym, photos proudly taken after passing an exam, selfies photoshopped to be prettier than real life, posts sharing snapshots of delicious food. The people were embarrassed by these expressions of themselves and either hid or deleted their posts, or deactivated their accounts altogether. The cafe Yuno and Mingy were in wasn't far from Jongho's recording studio, but it had been surprisingly hard for the other members to find them. At each cafe the members visited, people were hiding, and so, like playing a game of hide-and-seek, they had to find the people hiding in the cafe and check them one by one. They found Mingy first, stomping his feet and hiding behind a sign, embarrassed at all his pictures visible around town. Then they found Yuno hiding under a cafe table. It looks like it learned a new emotion, which means it must have also moved to a new person. Once again, Wooyoung had to confess that he had awoken Sopro, and Mingy and Yuno, now aware of the situation after hearing the whole story, turned serious. They had to find Sopro quickly before things got out of hand. It feels like something just changed slightly. Do you think it could have moved from embarrassment and onto something else? Come to think of it, the air inside the cafe had changed. Up until the moment they found Yuno and Mingy, the people's embarrassment had a spoonful of curiosity mixed in it as well. Now it had turned into something different than the kind of shy embarrassment you get when you accidentally make eye contact with your crush. The people's faces had turned red, and their breathing had grown heavier. They bit their lips and clenched their fists, looking like they were desperately holding back the urge to run away. It was an emotion that looked like embarrassment, but with an undertone of restraint. What was it called again? Oh, that's right. Shame. That was it. The people were now ashamed. I feel like I'm dying. I'm so sad, depressed. Why is this only happening to me? What the hell did I do wrong? It's so painful. It's too hard. I'm lonely. How am I supposed to keep on living like this from now on? I sank into despair and endlessly poured out painful thoughts. Sadness. The feeling of it was so overwhelming that I was at a loss. It was the first time I had experienced sadness. Back when I was alone in that world for so long, had I been sad then too? Had I been lonely, depressed, and distressed? Not once had I thought I was sad back then, because I had never learned how to feel sad in the first place. But now I feel sad when I think of myself back then. Upon entering the body I chose, I fell into a deep sea. I wanted to escape this body as fast as I could, but I couldn't find a way out no matter how much I swam. I was suffocating and in pain. I didn't know what death meant for me, but I felt like I truly was going to die. When I struggled to breathe, my body began to shed tears. It wailed as it cried. Then, strangely, the water in the sea where I was drowning began to decrease. Little by little, slowly. The sea of sadness receded like the tide. As the water level went down, I began to see the surface beyond the sea. Light poured in. Maybe to cry is to let the sadness out, like opening a faucet. I thought that if I stayed there any longer, I would surely drown, so I quickly swam out toward the light. I escaped that body and looked around. I could see a river. It was the Han River. Its water glistened in the scattered sunlight. The river looked like a huge, long dragon. I flew low and lightly touched the dragon's scales. The scales created small ripples, which disappeared and then reappeared. Then, from the other side of the river, I heard a woman laughing. It was a different kind of sound from excited, joyful laughter. I grew curious. I moved in the direction of the woman's laugh. The woman was walking with a man along the river. The two walked side by side, bumping shoulders, and as they waved their arms back and forth, their fingertips brushed naturally. The weather is so nice. Ah, there are so many bugs here, I think one just got in my eye. They chattered about nothing in particular and laughed non-stop. Da-dum, 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 dum. Even from far away, I could hear the man's heartbeat. I was sure the woman heard it too, but she only smiled softly, pretending she didn't know a thing. At the end of her smile, her cheeks were red. I was curious about the emotion behind that smile. I wanted to feel that emotion that was clearly different from the joy I had felt when I first entered my mother bird. I dove into the woman's body. I was dropped onto a cushion of cute, puffy clouds. I rolled around in the soft fluffiness. This emotion seemed to consist of subtle clusters of feelings rather than an endless expanse. When I tried jumping on the clouds, they propelled me upward with a bounce, and I was able to move higher and higher. At some point, I stopped and took a bite of another cloud fluttering by. It was sweet. I grew tipsy. A soft pink color began spreading throughout my deep red body. Was what I just ate poisonous? While I was a little worried, the thought didn't bother me too much. I was just drunk. Who cares if it was poison? Right now, my heart is fluttering, and I feel good. The man took the woman's hand, and the woman carefully curled her fingers around his. Then the whole world shook, and the clouds shot me up even higher. Everything moved dizzyingly fast. He'll smell my sweat if he gets this close. I'm sweating so much. Is my makeup okay? It didn't melt off, did it? There's a pimple on my right cheek. What if he sees it? I should have put on perfume. I ate so much at lunch. My stomach won't show, right? He said earlier that he likes intelligent and respectable girls. I need to make sure I come off like that. I should clean up my social media accounts tonight. Oh God, my hands are sweating. What should I do? I hope he doesn't think I'm gross. Should I pull away for a second and try to wipe my hands? But then, how do I take his hand again? Wouldn't he take it as a rejection? In a short moment, countless worries passed through the woman's mind. But when the man brushed a stray lock of hair out of the woman's face, she turned red again, and all her thoughts stopped. It felt like being propelled back and forth uncontrollably on a roller coaster. While the woman liked the man, she was also overcome by the desire to run away and hide. Yet, at the same time, she didn't want to leave him either, and was worried about how she looked to him right now. She felt good, but also a little nauseous, as if she were motion sick, or perhaps hungover. Then, a new group of people appeared in front of the couple. "Look who it is! Who's that next to you? Your boyfriend?" The group approached them cautiously. It seemed that they knew the woman. The woman's body grew stiff at their greeting, and when asked if the man holding her hand was her boyfriend, she shook off his hand entirely, as if they were strangers. The people in the group covered their faces with their hands as if they were embarrassed, but continued to talk, glancing at the woman through their fingers. "I couldn't tell it was you at first. Don't you think those clothes are a little too tight? I mean, I know you lost 20 kilograms, but really, what's with your makeup?" They looked at the woman and spoke sheepishly as if they were embarrassed by her. At that moment, I fell from the clouds. The clouds disappeared, and the space around me slowly darkened. I landed with a thump in the center of a crowd of hundreds, thousands, and hundreds of thousands of people. Everyone was wearing masks that mimicked laughter. In unison, the crowd turned to me and pointed their fingers. Click! A spotlight fell on me. I was in the light, and the crowd was outside of it. I was alone, and they were the majority. I wanted to get out of the light and hide among them, but they blocked my every escape. I'm so embarrassed. What the hell do they even think of me? Why did I have to run into them here? The woman thought, and I thought the same. I want to run away. I want to disappear. The woman continued to think. I want to run away. How embarrassing. I feel sick. I'm sure he's disgusted by me now, too. The woman and I thought at the same time. I want to disappear. I want to disappear. The woman ran away. She ran, leaving the man in the group. I also ran away from the spotlight that followed me. I squeezed into the group, in between the masked people, and ran recklessly. It didn't matter where I was headed. My only goal was to get out of there. The woman and I ran wild, so that the spotlights and masked crowd couldn't catch us again. It was then. Thwack! I hit something and fell. I found it. A man pointed a gun at the woman. No, on closer inspection, it wasn't a gun. It was something that looked like a gun. It shot a light at the woman and beeped, screamed, as if to make an announcement. It really worked, the spirit scanner. To think someone studying archaeology would have such a pseudoscientific thing. I don't believe it. Thanks for the input, but don't you think we should focus on catching it right now? Just as the man carrying the so-called spirit scanner finished speaking, the remaining 7 men rushed to me and the woman. As I struggled away from them, I looked behind me. I was afraid that the masked people I had just been with might still come after us. Oh, sorry about this. We're not trying to harm you, we're just looking for something that we think might be with you right now. Please stay still, we don't want to hurt you. This must all be so shocking. We're really sorry. Please cooperate for just a moment. I'm sorry. I think you might have something I lost. Among the 8 men who had captured me and the woman was my mother bird. At first, I was glad to see him, but I also intuitively knew that what the mother bird was looking for was me. Why was the mother bird looking for me? Could I maybe leave this woman and go back to him? Okay, I found her phone. A tall man pulled a phone out of the bag that the woman had dropped. The man, who unlocked the phone with the woman's finger, began searching through her photo album. What were they doing? I used the woman to ask sharply. Just what do you think you're doing right now? We're trying to help you. We're looking for a way to force out Sopro, that thing that snuck inside you and is messing with your emotions. Sopro? Does he mean me? Is my name Sopro? How did this man know that I'm inside her? No, wait. First of all, I never messed with this woman's emotions. I was just curious. I wanted to know how she felt. So why is this man misunderstanding me? I used the woman again to speak. No, you've got it all wrong. No one's messing with my emotions. You only think that way because Sopro's inside you. Sopro has the power to control people's emotions as it pleases. Just a moment ago, you felt ashamed, right? I don't know for sure if that's what Sopro felt, or if those emotions were purely yours, but because you have Sopro in you, those feelings are infecting everyone around us. Look. The man stepped away so that she could see the people around the Han River. People stood, their faces red and on the verge of tears, shaking as they held back their shame. Was this because of me? I had only intended to go into the woman's body and feel her emotions, but was it because of me that everyone else was also feeling the same thing? Should we try this? The man who had been looking through pictures on the woman's cell phone held it up. Everyone nodded in agreement as if to say yes. Then the man held out the cell phone in front of the woman's face. A video played on the screen. Hey, the sound! Turn on the sound! At that, the man holding the cell phone tapped the screen a few times before holding it out again. This time, a sound played along with the video. Give me your hand! Hand! The woman in the video spoke in a bright voice. A puppy approached happily and held out its paw to the woman. The woman burst into laughter. Good boy! You're such a good boy, aren't you? The woman held out her hand, and the puppy nuzzled its face against her. The woman laughed and petted the dog, and the dog happily enjoyed the affection. My head felt as though it might crack. The woman crouched down and rubbed her temples. As she did so, the men who had been holding her let go. Come, follow me! The woman in the video ran backwards, filming the dog. Then the dog ran towards the woman. The woman here outside the video began to heave. A vortex sped toward me. If I got caught in that vortex, I would be forced outside again. I had this feeling that I shouldn't go outside, not now. As I ran away from the vortex, the dog from the video began running toward me from the opposite side. The woman must be recalling memories of her dog, but, unlike the bright image in the video, the dog snarled at me, showing its fangs. He barked and growled loudly, as if trying to protect the woman and telling me to get out. Now! He was telling me that if I ignored his warning, he would attack. I backed up. At that moment, I was swept away by the vortex from behind. It's out! Look, it's definitely bigger than before. Wooyoung, quick! The woman threw me up. I was overwhelmed by the weight of the gaze of the 8 men surrounding me. It was more oppressive than the gaze of the masks I felt inside the woman. The huge men were looking down at me as I lay on the floor. I felt both shame and fear. I need to get out of here, right now. It was then. Someone stepped on me. I got it! It hurt. I wanted to tell them it hurt, but without a body, I had no way to talk. The intensity of the man's step gradually increased. Perhaps he was afraid that if he lightened up, I would get away. While I was also saddened by the fact that I was being stepped on and couldn't move, the fact that it was my mother bird of all people who was causing me to suffer came as a much bigger sadness. I felt a new mixture of emotions that felt both like the sea of sadness and what the woman felt running into friends she didn't want to meet. It was fear and resentment. I wanted to run up to my mother bird and be adored like the puppy and the woman. So why was he hurting me like this? He stepped on me even harder, and dirt flew up from the ground. I was pushed deeper into the dirt. Deeper, deeper. Would I be pushed underground? My mother bird won't be able to catch me, because when he finally takes his foot off to look at me, I won't be there. I've already run away. Down. Peaceful days followed. The people who had experienced those sudden fluctuations of emotion speculated that it might all have been caused by some abnormal climate phenomenon. Experts on TV cited seasonal depression as an example, and said it may have been due to the weather warming faster than usual, adding to the people's conviction. The problem was that the abnormal phenomenon was not limited to just one country. Modern science could not explain why the world's population all felt the same thing at the same time. Some groups viewed the event as a religious phenomenon, and others thought it might have been something similar to the instinctual group reactions of birds and rats right before a disaster. We still felt uneasy. We were still unsure if Sopro had disappeared on its own or if we had eliminated it. If only someone could answer this for us, but unfortunately, as this was not World Z, it wasn't like we could reach out to Left Eye or Thunder for advice. As the members went on with their lives, they couldn't erase this feeling of subtle anxiety. It was then that we all received a call from Yuno saying he had found someone to consult with, and we got together again. Yuno, currently majoring in archaeology, had been studying history and artifacts unexplained by science without his supervisor's knowledge. Knowing what he did about World Z and the Chromer, he was curious. However, he hid this curiosity from the other students and professors in his major. He was worried about what they might think of him, and Yuno himself wasn't confident that he could explain his rationale to them either. After the incident with Sopro, Yuno stayed in the library studying day and night as he looked for similar legends and artifacts recorded here in World A. By accident, he discovered a section of the library that was not on the book record map and began reading through the books there as if he were possessed. He found a book by a scholar specializing in legends and myths based on the theory that the universe is composed of multiple dimensions. As soon as he read the introduction to the book, Yuno knew he needed to meet him. This was the introduction. It is a great error to assume that the artifacts of our world can only be interpreted by the logic of our world. That man! Isn't that Left Eye? Jongo cried out when he saw the scholar introduced by Yuno. None of the others could answer him. They just stood there frozen, staring. Only Yuno smiled. Yuno himself was quite surprised when he first met the scholar, who looked nearly identical to Left Eye, and he understood the members' reactions. The man, who had heard about Left Eye and their similar appearance from Yuno, greeted the members warmly. "I've heard that I look very similar to someone you met in a place called World Z. It seems that must be true." They weren't just similar in appearance. Even the fact that they both had one daughter was the same. In the corner of the lab was a family photo of Left Eye and his daughter, looking very much like family. Seeing how the members' gaze lingered on the family photo, the scholar began to prepare tea and spoke fondly. "Fortunately, my daughter is doing very well." Only then did the members, who were suddenly aware that their behavior might have been somewhat rude, clear their throats and enter the lab. The Left Eye-like scholar placed his unpublished thesis on the table. He spoke carefully as the members looked at the thesis. "As a scholar, I am very grateful for the knowledge that my theory doesn't have to end as just that. To think you've all been to World Z." The members took their eyes off the paper for a moment and looked into his eyes. Despite everything, they were glad to know that there was someone other than themselves who believed that World Z exists and that they had been there. Sensing that, the scholar spoke up again, more confident this time. "For the longest time, I've been thought of as a lunatic, an oddball, an 11th-dimensional human being even in my own field. I am truly grateful to have met witnesses who say I'm not crazy." They all felt the same way. The members smiled in response. "This all gives me a little more confidence that my theory just might be right, not only regarding dimensions, worlds, A and Z, but many other dimensions beyond that." The scholar explained that there could be even more dimensions and universes than just the two worlds, and none of the members could refute this hypothesis as an ungrounded assumption. The moment that we, who had until that point believed World A was the only world, stepped into World Z, our understanding of the one and only universe was flipped completely upside down. The existence of two dimensions also meant that more universes could very likely exist. "A long time ago, a tomb that appeared to belong to an ancient king was discovered. Until then, I thought that the king was only a figure of legend, but the discovery of that tomb turned legend into history. As part of the research team, I was elated at the thought of finding relics in the tomb. But it was too late." It was too late? Thieves had already stolen a lot of the artifacts, and so those relics remained legends, not history. Everything that could prove their existence was gone. The scholar turned the page to a picture in his research paper. It was a picture of an ancient king. From the king's neck hung a necklace made of woven reed grass. Its pendant was embedded with a jewel of a brilliant ruby color, a jewel that looked particularly similar to Sopro. Legend says that it was a gift given to the king by a huge bird, a spiritual creature. As a stone with the ability to move the hearts of all things, it was gifted to the king as a symbol of his love for the people. Hearts. Yeah, that does sound like Sopro. The members examined the paper again. Below the picture was the following text. "Legends such as these often come with warnings. The nature of this stone is like a child, and the king in possession of this stone becomes the parent of that child. Therefore, if the king has an evil heart, the child will learn that wickedness, and if the king has a good heart, it will learn goodness. A child. The line comparing the nature of the stone to a young child caught Wu Yong's eye. I took this warning to mean something along the lines of, those who lead must protect their hearts from evil, and though I never thought this legend to be something limited to World A, I never had enough evidence to support my theory. There were no relics I could turn to either. Then I met Yuno and thought, maybe this legend actually originated in World Z. If not, then maybe it's a legend that involves both worlds. Perhaps the scholar's words were true. Parts of this legend and what we knew about Sopro lined up almost too well. In both the legends of World A and World Z, Sopro was described as not an object, but as a being with will, a spirit, and a child. So, as a being with its own will, just where did Sopro go? Did it really just disappear? Their feelings of uneasiness remained, and their worries grew even more complex. Just then, Yosong, who was searching for information related to Sopro on his tablet, shouted out urgently, "It didn't disappear! It was just hiding!" Yosong turned his tablet to the members. On the screen was a live clip of a video creator searching for true ghost stories. He talked while walking through a graveyard. A statue that didn't exist until yesterday suddenly appeared overnight, and monsters were rising from the ground. The bust statue, made of corpse, bones, soil, and grass, had grown into a human shape. With a shriek, its eyes shut open. It looked enraged. People watching the live video called it the resurrection of Frankenstein. Not long after, a war broke out over there.